Okay, here. Awesome. So throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them out in our comment section. And throughout the presentation, we'll pause in between some of the slides and maybe read some of those questions out loud, have them be answered. And then, if you feel like you really have something pressing, please raise your hand and then we can most definitely pause the presentation. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started with our lovely seventh grade teacher from Octavia E. Butler, Miss Frances Milnes.
Thank you, Nancy. Wow. Thanks. I see there's a lot of people here today, which is fantastic. And it's so important to be able to kind of get a head start as you transition your child from elementary school to middle school. My own kid is now at Muir. And we transitioned from Sierra Madre to Octavia Butler, which was Washington Middle School, and then from Washington to Muir. And I definitely have a lot of insight when it comes to just being a parent and also being a teacher and experiencing my own child kind of transition through the years. So let's go ahead and get started, Nancy. So the first thing that we want to talk about is we're going to talk about the transition. It says, wait, sorry, it sounds like you may have switched. Sorry, I just got a pop-up, so I got a pop-up confirming my language. So was that supposed to come up here? I'm gonna just keep on going at this point. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is our transition. So what actually is going to happen from now until you actually get into the summer, and then stuff that happens in the summer, and then actually getting into the middle school. Okay, so and then you guys will talk about the CAP and then Penn stuff. Okay, thanks. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a transition. So right now, here we are. Yeah, 2 days ago was the first day of spring. So happy spring. And in fifth grade, the kids will be taking your kids will be taking their state exams and also their exams in Pasadena. We do reading and math exams, and if your child is applying to the Math Academy, they have a Math Academy exam also to take in order to qualify for Math Academy. If there are any children who have IEPs, right now is actually like I'm sitting in on some of the transitional IEPs at my school. So kids who are coming into sixth grade at OEB, I sit down with the transitional group of the teachers there who work with them. And so they're happening right now. And also, I really, really want to encourage you, if you haven't done this already, to go on a school tour. Nancy's already put that there, the POSD.US tours. School has them. Octavia Butler does them on Tuesdays. And you can, and basically I can speak with clarity on OEB's tours, but I'm pretty sure they probably all do the same thing. They'll walk the parents through the sixth grade classes and possibly some of the electives, but you get a tour of that particular area. And some parents even take their kids on those tours as well. Also, some schools, I'm not sure about other schools, but in the past, Octavia Butler has offered shadow days. Nancy, do you know if any other schools do shadow days?
Yes, they do. I know
Okay.
that Sierra Madre Middle offers them, and I believe so did Blair. But the
Right.
dates and times of when those shadows day happen vary from school to school.
Right. So I'm just going to
As did
explain.
Elliot.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
as does Elliot. There you go.
So basically, parents, what a shadow day is your student can go and shadow another sixth grader and kind of walk their path every day. So they go to each class and sit in the class. the teachers are made aware that it's a shadow day and we welcome the kids in, and so on and so forth. But it's like, for instance, I teach an advisory class that has sixth graders. So I'm used to having some shadow days where I meet some of the students who are coming in for the next year. Okay, so those are all great opportunities for the kids to kind of get a feel for what middle school is like, because the transition is can be very daunting. So come summer, when you choose your school, once you've chosen your school, you are going to receive a summer packet with all of that information. And usually, normally, a middle school will have a special day where the sixth grade can come in and kind of tour the school, pick up information, turn in your information packet, and everything that's been filled out, and then kind of it's spread out. The tours are usually spread out, or the days are usually spread out, where you have to kind of walk through the school. It gives kids an opportunity to walk around, to look and see where the classes are, to get used to the fact that sometimes they're on multiple levels, and how to read a schedule. For instance, I do a lot in the first couple of weeks of saying, oh, that's a 2. If your number starts with a 2, that means you're upstairs, right? And then the kids go, oh, okay, and kind of like that. But most schools try to keep the kids in a general area. Most of the classes will be in a general area, with the exception of like your PE classes, which are outside. Okay, so, and then the sixth grade day, once again, you normally get the class schedule. You can meet the counselor, you can get your books, lockers, if you want them. My kid wanted a locker the first time, and then after that, she really didn't want to use it. Different kids, just handle the situation differently depending on their backpack and how much stuff they have. And then there's always a LEARNS representative there, to kind of to give the benefits of the LEARNS program after school. We have a great LEARNS program offering wonderful activities, and throughout our district. I worked under the LEARNS office for a while and wrote curriculum for them, so I'm well acquainted with what goes on there. And intramural sports and different stuff that the kids can take part in. So it's a great program. And once again, to walk around the campus with your child. Just be on the lookout for the notice, because a lot of times they'll ask kids or specific grades to come on a specific day. And so, for instance, at OEB, it's bear days because we're the Bears, and then the sixth graders will come on one day, the seventh graders will come on another day, the eighth graders will come on another day. And then there's usually a day where anybody who missed that particular day can come. Okay, so those are like the transitional kind of areas. So let's talk about actually what happens when you get to school. One of the things you need to remind your student of is that teachers are super forgiving when the sixth graders come in, because they know that there's a lot of confusion, and they're trying to get one place to another, and so on and so forth. So all the teachers are usually out there saying this way or that way, pointing people in directions, and then even buddying up people with an upperclassman to kind of get them over to the PE area or over to the art area, because sometimes art and some of the electives are in kind of funky places at our schools. But for you, I would say, even if you've gone for your day to take your child to the school, and that, oh, the seventh grade day is tomorrow, and you have an opportunity to do it, go take your kid and explore the school. just kind of walk around and have the schedule there so that you can walk around and say, okay, well, here's this class or here's that class, but also be aware that sometimes there are changes to schedules. So prepare your child to be okay with that. Like sometimes there are mistakes. You can look at your at the schedule, but sometimes you're in the wrong. Maybe you have an honors class, maybe you have a Spanish class that you were supposed to be in and you have to be switched. So prepare your child for maybe some changes if that happens, and just tell them it's going to be okay, because it's a lot and it's very overwhelming. Now, bell schedules are usually posted on the school's website. A lot of most principals today will send out a blast, an email, a call, all of that. I know I get blasts from my own school and then from Elsie's school over at Muir, and they will attach certain things like the bell schedule, print it out or keep it available so you can kind of go over it with your child. And if you have a binder or a folder for them already on that first day, put it in there. Put it in the binder so that the kids can see that schedule. Most teachers write down their bell schedule someplace in their room. And I always refer to it. I have a big bell schedule in my room so I can say, that's when we're leaving, that's when we're moving and going to the next class. And we just kind of talk about that. And then the last thing is for PE procedures and expectations, clothing and stuff like that. They can talk about, you'll find out a lot about the clothes and purchase clothes for PE and such during the before school days. Okay. All right. This is a big one. The social fears and just kind of getting adjusted. It's only 3 grades, but there's a big difference between the incoming 6th graders and the incoming 8th graders. And sometimes it's like this, the 6th graders come in and it's very overwhelming. Some of our 8th graders, I'm almost 6 foot, and some of my 8th graders are taller than I am. So sometimes it's very overwhelming for a 6th grader, who's 11 years old, kind of looking up and saying, whoa, what's going on there? So there are some social fears there. And sometimes they'll be a little bit more hesitant. A lot of our 6th grader teachers know this. Most of the kids will be outside in the pergola or just milling around 7th and 8th graders because they know the lay of the land, but the 6th graders don't. So they have a tendency in the first couple of months to kind of just hang out in the 6th grade area. And the teachers know this. And so they kind of will open up their classes or, come out and talk to the kids to make sure that the kids feel comfortable and that they know that there's a space for them. One of the first things that I know our 6th grade teachers do, and I did when I was a 6th grade teacher, is the first day of school or one of the first days of school, they actually take a tour of the important areas. Here's the bathrooms. Here's the cafeteria. Here's the pergola where we eat lunch, right? And here's the office where you can go the front office and the attendance office and the counselors. Those are really, really, and the health office too. So we try to make sure that they know the lay of the land, library, things like that, so that they feel more comfortable, more confident as they're walking through their school. Hopefully by the end of the first week, all the kids have toured the school, so they feel comfortable in their school and they don't get lost. But if they do get lost, we always have somebody who will help them to find their way. All right. One of the things that I want to really, really put forth is that a lot of schools have have a period, an advisory period, or a period that where we talk about social emotional learning. And I know at OAB, we have a 20-minute period every day, 25-minute period every day, where we sit and we talk and we just kind of get to know about, how to talk to people, how to make friends. I know for me, my experience when my child came, she was one of 2 kids from her elementary school who came to our school. And so there was this feeling of, I don't know anybody and I don't have any friends. And so it was really, really important that my child be able to make friends. That was one of the reasons why we went from having an advisory once a week to having an advisory every day, so that kids interact with one another and kind of learn some of those social skills. So it's really, really important that they have the time, that social time with peers, to be able to connect and make new friends as we go through the years. Okay, so this is one of the things where we really want you to get on the bus early with making sure that you're on Aries. So there is the Aries parent portal. As a parent, I receive an email from Aries every week from with my child's grades, so that I can have a weekly talk with Elsie about just the things that are going on. Hey, what's going on in this class? Oh, good job with this. I see there's a missing assignment here, so on and so forth. And it makes it really easy for you can set the time. Mine actually goes in at 3 o'clock on Friday every week, so that when I pick up Elsie from school, we can have that conversation on the way home from school. And it's not a surprise. It's never a surprise. The grades are never a surprise. Yes, there's a lot for them to handle and juggle. Different schools handle things differently in 6th grade. So there are some schools where you have single subject teachers, right? So you have single subject teachers who each teacher only teaches that subject. I think if I didn't, Nancy, is there somebody from Blair here? Who has knowledge about Blair?
I know we have some parent ambassadors, but I don't know
Okay.
exactly from what schools yet.
I believe that Blair is single subject all the way through 6th, 7th, and 8th. So I believe so anyway. So if that's the case, then they have 1 teacher per subject. Whereas at some schools, sometimes you have the same teacher for 2 subjects. So you'll have the same math and science teacher, and you'll have the same English and history teacher. So some 6th graders may have fewer teachers in their 6th grade year, and then you transition into single subject, and you'll have more teachers. But we do that at OAB, we do that on purpose because it makes the transitioning, there's less transitioning in between, and you don't have to get to so many places or learn so many new places. But either way works, and it's just a matter of getting to know those particular teachers. Will there be a lot of homework? That depends on the teacher, quite frankly. As a teacher and a parent, I'm not really a huge fan of homework. There are a lot of teachers who are like me, and there are a lot of teachers who are not like me. So that be on the lookout in the first week for syllabi from your teachers. The teachers usually will send something like that. Okay, thank you, Victoria. Yeah, so Victoria just came on and said that they are single subject at Blair. So it depends, but it just becomes one of those things where as a parent, you can sit there and say, okay, let's look at the syllabus for this particular class, read through it, understand it. I know at our school, we send home the syllabus, and we try to align our syllabi in the grade levels so that there's a similarity in what we are saying. to parents so that they understand that we are communicating as a grade level team. And that's really, really important in terms of kids understanding their grades and the amount of work that they have. Another thing that happens in advisory classes, in a lot of advisory classes, is they will give days in advisory class where you can have a study hall. So, and then the advisory teacher kind of looks at the grades and says, hey, you might want to work on that missing assignment in math. Let's get that in. And the role of an advisory teacher. So for me, as a 6th grade advisory teacher, I'm kind of on them saying, hey, I noticed that you had a missing assignment in history. Might want to get that done. Let's get that done and in the can so that your teacher can grade it, right? And that will help support them as they are kind of moving along. And as a teacher, I can sit there and say, oh, you need some help? I can help you with that, right? So that's another thing. You can help them with their time management. One way that we can do that is many schools, I think all schools give agendas now. I'm not sure, but it's a common practice to have a school agenda and write down homework assignments, dates of big projects, and then ask parents to look at those agendas and say, okay, keep up with the work that's going on here. Even if, and for me, I tell my students, even if you don't have any homework except for to finish the work from class, write that down. So you know, okay, so you can communicate to your parents, I don't have any homework in that class because I finished it in class and that was the homework, right? And yes, monitor the assignments on Parent Portal. You will see the dreaded red marks, right? The red numbers for missing assignments, and you can click on them and you can see what are the missing assignments and ask your students. And then the last thing is really to encourage them to advocate for themselves. It's very, very important to have kids understand that they can communicate with their teachers, and they can be the first one to communicate. It doesn't have to always be through the parent or, you know, but like say, I tell my kid, I've always told my kid, oh, you need to email your teacher then. You need to email your teacher and ask her, you know, when she's going to grade that. Well, Mama, I already turned that in. Okay, can you ask her, you know, when she thinks she's going to grade it so that, you know, we can know that that assignment is now finished. Things like that. And I get lots of emails like that. Hey, Ms. Mellis, I completed my missing assignment. When you get a chance, can you grade it? Yeah, absolutely. And that's a ding for me when I have, you know, one kid who hasn't finished it and I can just go boop, and take care of it, right? So really teach them to advocate for themselves in their own grading. It boosts their morale and their spirits, their confidence as they go through middle school. Yeah. So these are some of the options that are available for electives at the schools and just some of the programs. So you have Math Academy and dual language in many different languages, IB, creative industries, and Math Academy, I think, is Math Academy still going to be at McKinley next year? I don't think so. Not sure though. But there are so many different options in, oh, and of course the arts integration over at Elliott, wow, and the conservatory. There are so many different choices and options for students who are going into middle school. Of course, we do have to make sure that our students who are in academic language development go to, if they need to do their academic language development requirement first, that comes first before they take their electives. Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. Okay, so, oh, AVID. Okay, so AVID is, it's a course where what is taught is study skills and skills that get kids to be more organized and focused and have their academics in front of them. So it's a structured course. I'm actually the AVID director over at OEB. And so we have 3 elective courses, one in 6th grade, one in 7th grade, and one in 8th grade. And basically it's geared towards college and career readiness and making sure that kids have those skills. So I actually advocated for my kid to go into AVID in 6th grade. Elsie definitely had some issues with organization. And so Elsie was in AVID for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I think it really helped her not only with her organization, but also with her public speaking skills, because they do a lot of speaking and stuff. So what you would do is, if you wanted to sign up, the process usually is yes at OEB, Christina, but that is thank you, Jenny. Hello, Jenny. So you can at OEB, because we have students who are in dual language and they want to take an extra elective, we do have a 7th period. Nancy, are there any other schools that do 7th period in Pasadena? Do you know? Or does anybody from any of the schools know if there's any 7th periods at any other schools? Yes, we're the only AVID school, middle school at this point.
Victoria might be wanting to chime in about, I don't know if you want to chime in with Elliot. Yes. So you have a 7th period artist seminar.
Okay, great. Okay, so Elliot has a 7th period and it's artist seminar. So, and we do that at OAB as well. We offer glee and orchestral music as 7th period options too, because some of our kids would like to take a music class, but they aren't able because they're in another program that only has those particular classes available during the normal 1 through 6 period. Okay. And so the overview is, well, ELA, math, science, they're pretty much self-explanatory. You're gonna have English and it builds. So the standards for ELA, math, and science are kind of a foundational overlapping. So for instance, in 6th grade English right now, the kids should be learning argumentative writing, but at a 6th grade level. And then and it's their first year learning argument. So we transition. I used to be a coach a long time ago, so sorry, I'm kind of geeking out here. But in K through 5, the kids do opinion pieces. And then in 6th grade and all the way to 12th grade, it becomes argument. So the kids in 6th grade learn argument for the first year in 6th grade. And pretty much since the Common Core has been established and we've had end of the year assessments, so the state test, I think pretty much every year the kids have had to write an argument because it is the first year that they're learning that particular content strand, right? In math, depends on what math or what school you're at and where things are. If you have an honors track, if you don't have an honors track, but each class will go by the district curriculum that's laid out, and that's fully available on the district website, the district curriculum. Same thing with science, but the science is through, I believe, is still through STEM scopes. In history, for next year, the kids do ancient civilization. So that's when they get to do Egypt and ancient India and all those fun things that I loved teaching when I was a 6th grade teacher. So lots and lots of fun. Okay, and then in PE, it's PE, right? Okay, so there's some electives for each. Wow, McKinley, awesome. Look at all those. Wow. What great elective selections we have in our middle schools. I love this. Fantastic. So you guys can see those. Okay, so grades. So the grades come out, it's a little bit different. So you're transitioning from three progress reports in K5 to four progress reports per semester in grade 6. So basically every 5 weeks, you will have available to you a progress report, with the last one at the end of each semester being the big one, the one that counts. Did you see that, Nancy? Are you guys going to make this available for them to the slide deck?
Absolutely. Everything will be sent to the email you provide while watching this.
Awesome. That's great. So please, one of the things that we need to remember is when we come into, this is what happens every year with 6th graders. The 6th graders come in and they're a little like, wait, it's only been 5 weeks. It's not even the end of September and I already have a progress report. It's kind of jarring, that first progress report. So be prepared for it, right? Be prepared for it to come. It's like I said, every 5 weeks, you get a progress report, with the last one being the one that goes in their permanent record. So remember, it's a progress report and we can make progress as we're going along. So that's why it's really, really important to make sure to keep up with what's going on with the grades and keep up with what's going on in the parent portal. What did you say? I'm sorry, I'm looking at Susan's.
Earlier in the presentation, we were talking a little bit about Math Academy and whether or not it'll continue at McKinley. And so Susan just wanted to, confirm that it would only be at McKinley. Sierra Madre Middle School and OAB will continue to have Math Academy next school year.
All right, thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. So just keep up with the grades and know that you're going to be going from 3 grade reports for the entire year. So 3 trimester grading periods to 8, to 8 within the whole entire school year. 4 in the first semester, 4 in the second semester. Okay. Oh gosh, bell schedule. This is something to prepare them for. Okay. They have 4 minutes at our school, and I believe it's 5 minutes at some other schools, to get from class to class. Now, that's not a lot of time, especially when you're in 6th grade and you're looking around for which way do I go. So I know that my kid had to go from the 6th grade wing all the way to the 8th grade wing for advisory, then come back, then go back all the way for the PE, right? And this was all happening within a 4-minute period. So Elsie learned to move quickly. It moved quickly, but it took a little bit of time. And we want parents to know that teachers are there to, guide them, to direct them. Staff members are in the hallways to direct them and say this way or that way, or which class are you looking for, until they kind of get their bearings. And then eventually they all know how to get there. Nutrition is a 15-minute break, usually between right after second period. In between second and third period, they have a 15-minute break, and lunch is a half an hour, usually after 4th period. And then we have early release on Mondays. So schools, I believe all the middle schools start at the same time now. So we're all out at 1:25. So 1:25 release. in middle school. Kids usually have a covered area for lunch to eat at if they bring their lunches. Of course, they can get lunch at the cafeteria and have it out. And then there are other areas usually on all the campuses for the kids to eat. So, and there's also snacks served during nutrition in the cafeteria. So I just used to pack Elsie's snack and lunch so that there was always something, because kids, as a 7th grade teacher, one of the #1 questions that I get, actually even as a 6th grade teacher, do you have any snacks? Miss Mills, do you have any snacks? Right. And I always keep snacks in my classroom because the kids, their metabolisms are just running all the time and they're always hungry. So having a little snack in their pocket, in their backpack front pocket, so that they can eat, even if they're on their way from English to PE, these are helpful things for them to have. And I'm very used to holding on water bottles, flat hydro flasks, all of those things that happen because we need to stay hydrated and we need to stay. And a lot of the schools have the refillable stations, water stations now. So I think almost all of them do. So bring a water bottle or refillable water bottles to make sure that the kids are hydrated. But they're always hungry. So please, 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 if you can supply them with snacks or remind them to go to the cafeteria for nutrition, that's pretty awesome. Tardies, goodness gracious. I feel like, okay, so tardy is defined as, okay, so there are 2 bells, right? So the kids leave when the bell rings for the end of the period. Then they have 3 minutes before the first bell rings, and then a minute in between the first bell and the tardy bell. The expectation is that kids are in the classroom when the tardy bell rings. If they're not in the classroom when the tardy bell rings, then they are marked tardy. That is the definition of tardy. If a child comes in 20 minutes after a class starts, then we are supposed to mark them as late, right? And then if they're not in a class, even if they're at the school, if they're not in the class, they will be marked they'll be marked absent. Now, sometimes what happens is we have kids who are going, I mean, you guys have all seen all of the electives that go on at our schools. So these kids are going off campus to go to field trips, they're going to performances, they're going to all these different things that they are doing throughout the year. And if they're marked absent, what ends up happening is the list of those kids, so if they were in Glee or whatever and they went to a performance, they'll be marked as absent, but then that absence is turned into a different it's like school activity, a marking that says that they were off on a school activity. But the teacher, when the teacher doesn't see the child in the classroom, they have to mark absent, and then the attendance clerk goes through and makes those changes. Okay. Oh, you want me to talk about the truancy? I will talk about the truancy letter. Truancy letters do go out. I get them. I mean, I get texts from the district telling me how many days my kid has been absent. So I've been told several times that my kid's been absent 5 times, right? And it hasn't changed since December, but I still will, they will let you know. Okay. So please remember that every kid has a support system. That support system is you, the counselor, and the teacher, right? So at middle school, at the middle school level, the students will have a counselor who will meet with them, who will switch classes if a class doesn't fit, right? Encourage them, if their elective doesn't fit, and you can tell that they're kind of not feeling, they're not feeling that elective, encourage them to go and talk to the counselor and make that change, because a lot of times the window closes on changing classes after about 2 weeks. But please know that counselors are there to help and support the kids, scheduling them, and then doing SSTs if they're having trouble in a class or a specific subject. Just being able to be there for the student. I know the counselors are very active in knowing what's going on, and the better the communication is with the counselor, the more they get out of that relationship. So please be aware that there are counselors on staff at all our schools to help support and our students and help them with the transition. It's a lot. It's a lot for them, but eventually it gets in there. SSTs are student success team meetings. Okay, so a student success team meeting is when a student is struggling academically or socially. They can convene, the counselor can say, hey, let's have a meeting with the parent and the teachers, and let's write out. And so what we do in an SST meeting is we sit down and we talk about all the strengths of the students, some of the things that are challenging them, and then some of the things that we as teachers and as a school can do to help that child succeed. Okay, it's an SST process, and it's very informal at first, but if it ends up being something where there are underlying issues, like maybe there is a processing problem or anything like that, then it can pave the way to getting other services for that student if there is any sort of problem with learning a particular content. And also we can provide, there are other things on our campuses that provide support, like mental health services and things like that. So we are here. This has been a really, really trying time for our students, and a lot of our kids that are coming up through middle school. Let's see, this next year, the kids were in, I want to say my kids were in fourth grade, third grade, second grade. So your kids were in first grade when the country shut down, right? And so we're still dealing with a lot of things, like in our school, we're still dealing with a lot of things having to do with a lack of social interaction. During those 2 years that the kids were not in school. And so having the ability to have that social emotional support, either through the counselor or through mental health services, is really an important piece to making sure that our kids are happy and healthy and feel successful in school. Okay. That's me. So does anybody have any questions for me before I student success team. So does anybody have any questions for me regarding any of that stuff? I know I talked a lot. I'm sorry. Were there any questions I didn't answer? Because I see there's like 20 comments in there.
I don't see any additional questions in the chat, but if anybody wants to unmute themselves and just ask your question, you may be able to do that.
I have a quick question. Hi there. It's regarding the electives at OEB. I didn't see Design Lab on there. Is that not going to be an option?
Oh no, yeah, I know it wasn't there. We didn't have Glee on there or orchestra on there, but or I don't know. But yes, we have Design Lab. We still have Design Lab now, and we will have it next year. We also have a media arts elective as well that we started this year. It just wasn't put on there. Thank you for that question. Yes, we always have Design Lab. The kids love Design Lab.
Just to clarify, for Design Lab, is that offered for 7th period?
No, it is not at this point offered for 7th period. The only thing that is offered for 7th period are our 2 music options, which are Glee and orchestral music.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nicolette, did you have a question?
I do. I was wondering if your child or student is is in their neighborhood school and they are transitioning to their neighborhood middle school, do you need to enroll them in some way, or how does that happen?
Yeah, you'll still need to enroll them. You'll receive a packet. You'll receive a packet with information that you still need to fill out, even if it's your even if it's your neighborhood school, because they need to have an updated, update everything. That packet will come in the summer, and you can, if you're just going to stay at your neighborhood school, just like my kid goes to Muir, we get a packet every year, and I have to fill out like a little bit of something, even though Elsie's going to be a junior this year. So-
Okay, so they know to send, send the kids that. Okay.
Yes,
Okay, great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Evangelista asked, will the student be able to choose their electives or will it be assigned? Will you be able to expand on that?
I think that sometimes with the master schedule, the certain electives have to be assigned if they are in certain programs. Say, for instance, if they're in dual language, their elective is their language, right? So that so we have dual language. Almost all the schools do. Sierra Madre has Mandarin. Blair has Armenian. So there are lots of different options, but that written and spoken language becomes their elective. That's why a lot of schools do offer the 7th period. So in that case, that would be their elective. If the child is a English language learner, then their elective and they haven't been reclassified, then their elective is academic language development. That becomes their elective until they reclassify out of that specific category. But I think they're assigned initially, and that's why it's really, really important to have the child, or even like yourselves, if your child is not feeling art class, then you're going to want to advocate for them and say, can I have choir instead? Can we have choir instead? And the earlier the better. So that's why you should look at the schedule when you're walking through on those early days. And if you know that your kid's not gonna like that particular elective, I would go and see the counselor immediately. Just as a parent, that's what I would do.
Thank you. From a teacher's perspective, would you suggest a rolling backpack or a regular backpack?
Those rolling backpacks are sort of, I mean, I get them. I get the reason for them, but I would say a regular backpack, if what we are transitioning into is they have their Chromebooks, and most of the books that they have are not paper. So a smaller backpack works. I haven't seen a rolling backpack in my classroom in 2 years. But I will say that sometimes I see some of our smaller, more petite students who have trouble with, carrying around all that stuff. So that's when the option of having a locker makes a difference, and teaching them how to schedule it and say, okay, put your period 1 and 2 stuff in there. Everything else goes in the locker. At nutrition, go to your locker, switch out. And then at lunch, go to your locker and switch out. So you're not carrying that big, bulky backpack. Although I tried that with my kid and it did not work. That my kid did not want the locker and having to go back and forth. So Elsie carried the big one. So as a teacher, I haven't seen a rolling backpack in a couple of years, but I see the importance of it for some kids, because sometimes they just want to keep all their stuff together, and I get it. So
and just to add to that, lockers are not necessarily available at every middle school. So I know because I worked at Octavia Butler that they have it available.
Right.
I don't know that even if the schools do have lockers, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are an option for sixth graders. So please, when you do visit your school over the summer, on the day that you go for the sixth graders, please make sure that you ask that question there.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that, Nancy. Any other questions?
Ms. Militis, before we move on, there were a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
Are there any specific things that the middle school offers for GATE students?
Ooh. I know. I do not know about that particular thing at other schools. I know that at our school, we have an honors truck. So most of our GATE kids are in the honors, like in my honors English class. So we have honors English classes, honors math classes, and so on and so forth. But we also encourage, and I encourage, as a teacher who's been teaching 27 years in this district, I started a long time ago, you guys, over at Hamilton as a K-5 teacher. And one of the core beliefs of our district right now is differentiation. And that means that we take our GATE students and we go deeper with them. We don't give them more. Right. So my kids who show that giftedness in their writing or in their reading, they test out of other things, and I don't have them do certain things because they don't need it. And I differentiate their instruction. That's the hallmark of good teaching. You differentiate for your gifted students, and actually for all of your students, quite frankly, right? Because all of them have different needs. So yeah, that would be my answer. I don't know of any specific programs, but if any of our ambassadors have anything to say about that, you guys can chime in.
There was a question about how seventh period classes would affect after school programs such as Learns. And
So affecting meaning whether or not they could go to Learns?
if whoever asked the question would
So
like to clarify.
if your student has a seventh period, they would just go to their seventh period, and after
Yes.
seventh period, they just go to
Yeah.
Learn. So
Yes.
Learns will have a roster of all the
Yes.
students who have a seventh period class, so that they know to expect them after that class is over.
Right. A lot of times those kids will go and pick up a snack real quick right after school because Learns offers a snack right then. And so they'll run over, get their snack, go to seventh period, finish seventh period, and then go to Learns. Okay. I don't see anything else.
There are a couple questions regarding Marshall specifically. Unfortunately, we don't have a representative that I know of available to speak to those at the moment, but we would love to connect you with our community assistant, and she may be able to offer you a bit more information, as well as the school directly.
What we could also do is I will find out the answers to the questions that we might not have the answers to. We'll develop a Q&A document, and when we send out the presentation, we'll also send the document out in case there are any other parents that are here that would also like to know that information. And then we're gonna just do 2 more questions since we still have some presenters. The next one's is, if the student is in DLIP, is there any option to be able to take Design Lab at all, even if it's 1 semester, since it's not offered during 7th period?
Because they have their 4 core subjects. So if they're in DLIP, they have to have their 4 core subjects, which are English, math, history, and science. Then if they're in DLIP, then they have to take their language. So the language that they're studying, and their PE, that's 6. right? Those are, and then you just have the other options for at this point. Perhaps that's something that we can talk about as parents and teachers in terms of allowing that to happen. But it just ends up being kind of difficult to find teachers who would teach an extended day.
And I know that sometimes the DLIP teachers will integrate Design Lab into their curriculum. So a lot of the times,
True.
even though the students might not be able to go to it, have it as an additional elective, the teachers do still take a lot of their students into Design Lab, so they are also able to utilize it. And then we're just going to do one more question so that we can
Hold
move
on, let me
on.
take this one
Oh,
really
sure.
quickly. The student in English and regular math, I have plenty
Yes.
of them. I have plenty of them who are in my English class and in regular math class, and vice versa, who are in honors math and in regular English. It happens, and we have to go with the strengths of our students and put them in the appropriate classes. So that's pretty much what all schools would do.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Milnes. Thank you for the questions. We won't stop the questions. We will just continue with our next presenter. And then if we have time in between at the end, then we'll continue to go through the questions in the chat. So next up, we have College Access Plan.
Thank you, Nancy.
There we go.
I know it's so weird when you're sharing your screen, but thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for being here for all the parents, guardians, caregivers, and students who are here. As Nancy mentioned, I'm here with College Access Plan, also known as CAP. We are a nonprofit organization. We started in PUSD about a little over 18 years ago with one PCC professor, one Muir High School teacher, and one high school student. We have since expanded to over 1,800 students and families, and we've also expanded to 4 different departments. So although we started with our high school program, we now offer services in our middle school program, high school, and even in beyond. So aside from that, we also provide the family engagement where we do workshops in the evenings on Saturdays, and I also do meetings with parents who may have any questions regarding, life after high school. And if I can go on to the next slide, that would be great. Thank you. So as mentioned, College Access Plan provides free college resources to students and families, and it really doesn't matter regarding their academic grades, family income, immigration status, whether the family or their student is undocumented or not. We literally, if you are a Pasadena Unified School District student and family guardian, you are welcome. So please make sure that you're taking advantage of our programming, our services available, whether it's for your student or you as a parent. And so I know many of you are here for middle school as you're transitioning on. We offer a 9-week program. It's completely free. I think the magic sauce is once a week for an hour. And so we typically do the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll take 3 schools in the fall and 3 schools in the spring. And a lot of what was mentioned with Ms. Milnes and regarding like showing your student how to advocate, we kind of do that in these 9 weeks. We kind of talk to students about their future and what they want to do, whether it's finding out what they're passionate about. If some of them are like, I know what I want to do, and they already have a career path in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and that's wonderful. But there are other students who may not have had a real positive experience in school, and they may not really envision college in their future. And for us, it's like, hey, look, college is a choice, right? Life is about choices. And so all we want to make sure is that you are informed of your options. So we want students to make sure that they know what it takes. And it's not that much, right? If they're really passionate about what they're doing and making those connections, helping them prepare to be successful in high school. When we talk to students in middle school and they're struggling and we're like, hey, what's going on with this D? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, are you doing your work? Well, yeah, I did my work, but it's just I didn't turn it in on time, right? So we're like, wait a minute, you did the hard part. You already did the actual work. Now we need to get you into the habit of turning it in on time so that you can get full credit for that. So just helping them realize that creating these small positive habits can have a huge impact, whether it's in their grades or their options afterwards. We talk to them about their college, different colleges, the requirements, potential career options. Sometimes they don't even realize, oh, I can get paid to design games. Yes, you can, right? And learning about themselves. I was a really shy student growing up, and if someone would have told me I would be doing public speaking, I would have been like, never, right? And here I am because I found something I'm so passionate about. And so students get to learn about themselves. Hey, I easily get distracted, right? And I didn't know that about myself, but I'm always getting in trouble. Okay, at the beginning of the semester, go to your teacher and say, hi, I get easily distracted. I know you sat me in the back. Would I be able to sit a little bit closer to you? Right? And so just learning those little, I'm a more visual person, or I need to hear things. Can I record the lecture or class, right? Or I need assistance. A lot of students don't know how to ask for help. They're embarrassed. So showing them that, hey, you know what? It's the smart kids getting those A's and B's because they're the ones getting the tutoring. They're the ones asking for help, whether they do it in class or find a different way to connect with the teacher or with the tutor. So we show them a little bit about that in those 9 weeks. We also throw a lot of candy. And if you'd like to get on the mailing list for that for the following year, our QR code is there and we will be sharing these slides. And we talk to them about grades, right? We talk about grades like their credit. We're like, look, as adults, we have to have good credit, right? If we want to be able to buy a car, a home. Same thing with grades. Grades speak about who you are as a person. Are you responsible? Are you doing your work? Are you seeking the help when you need it? And it means that, guess what? Dressing up for PE, okay? When we look, we have students who are like A's, B's, F. Oh, what happened there? PE, okay. And they're like, well, I just didn't dress. It's like, well, do you have the uniform, right? And so as parents, you're here, so you probably already know you'll have to get some kind of uniform for your child, but make sure you're checking in with them that they're dressing, because that is a huge chunk of the grade, right? Unless they've changed that. Have they changed that? Okay, so please, please, please have them, we teach them, hey, that F does not look good, right? You have everything else great. So we talk to them about, again, it's not just important for like your way future, but like in the near future. So promotion, class placement. There's special programs students can start participating in, and pre-college programs, even in middle school. And so how these little decisions that they're making, these habits that they're creating, are going to help set them up for success in high school, college, and in adulthood. Oh, can I go one more thing with there? We tell them A's, B's, and C's, right? A's and B's is really what you want to be shooting for. C is for passing, right? And D for college is for do over. So that's why it's bolded. We want to make sure we're really encouraging students to get as many A's and B's as possible. And yes, we understand they'll get the occasional sprinkle of a C, and that's fine. But again, seeking out that help when they need it. Thank you, Nancy. At CAP, we talk about superpowers, right? What are your students interested in, passionate about? And some of them, again, really know, and others don't. So when we talk about superpowers, we're talking about the academic side as well. So if they're really into writing and reading, then maybe taking an honors course in English and history might be something that's better suited for your student. If they're really into math and science, they probably shouldn't do an honors class in English, right? But maybe they should consider it in math and science. So matching up your students' passions and what comes naturally and easy to them, and having them add a little bit of rigor in those areas. We want students to get involved and, kind of explore different abilities and interests they may have, because this might help connect them with different career opportunities and interests that, again, they didn't even know existed. So if they're starting to kind of explore getting involved, whether it's Glee or choir or design, robotics, athletics, whatever it may be, we want to make sure that they're starting to get involved so that they have a good idea once they transition over to high school. And we're so lucky to live in Pasadena because we have a plethora of community-based organizations, some of which are here today, like Penn. But there's Day One and there's STARS, Harambe, Young and Healthy. So connect your students with whatever organizations may resonate better with them. And in some cases, there may be more than one. And it's also for families, parents, and caregivers. So make sure that you're taking advantage of what's available here within the district. And I'll go on to the next one. And in case you have a high schooler, because I know you're probably thinking, I'm barely getting into 6th grade. What are you talking about going into 9th grade? But if you do happen to have a student in high school, or just know that when your student does transition over, we also have the high school department, which touches all of our 9th through 12th grade students. So we do not have a GPA requirement. We meet each student where they're at. So we can help them. Obviously, the seniors kind of feel a little bit more of the rush of like, oh, I need to apply for colleges, right? But we welcome 9th and 10th and 11th graders to come and start talking about a college list, about scholarship opportunities, about their college resume, so that they're better prepared. We also offer enrolled classes for high school students, typically our college essays workshop for seniors in the fall, and then our college 101 classes for juniors in the spring, which is actually kind of going on right now. We also nominate students for our iHeart College program, which is the program that supports students after they graduate high school and they continue on to college. So keep an eye out for that. We're kind of a full service program. So they start off in middle school and we can continue supporting them all throughout. And I have a timer. I'm over my 10 minutes. Okay. I was so sure I had 2 more minutes. I love to talk to you.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You can.
Okay. But if you do have a high schooler, this is our current schedule for drop-in. We're there year round. So any 9th through 12th grader can come on by. We have a Monday, Wednesday for Blair and PHS. And Tuesday, Thursday, we're at Muir and Marshall. So anytime between 3:30 and 5:30, our CAP advisors are there. And if you haven't connected with us yet this year, please fill out the family interest form. You could just scan the QR code. Again, you're going to get this emailed, but make sure that you fill it out so that we can email you upcoming opportunities, whether it's for our middle school program or high school program. And our contact information is next. So we hope that you'll be able to connect with us. Feel free to reach out. Hablo español también. I know that it's being translated, pero si tienen preguntas, please do not be shy. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy. Does anyone have any questions for Miss Wendy from CAF before we move on to Penn?
Sí, yo tengo una pregunta
Díganos.
para Wendy. Quería saber si el QR code que puso ahorita en el último slide es el mismo que puso al principio de la presentación de Wendy.
Es diferente.
Oh, ok. Ok, si
want-
pudiera tener acceso a los 2 QR codes para registrar a mi hija que va a ir a middle school.
Claro que sí.
Muchas gracias.
Ok.
Les vamos a mandar a todas la presentación. See, for everyone else, the question was, is this QR code that you're seeing on the screen the same as the QR code that was at the beginning of the presentation? And the answer was, no, that it's a little bit different, but we will send out the presentation to everyone, so you'll have access to both QR codes in case you're interested in registering your student. Are there any other questions?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy. Okay, so now we're gonna transition into our lovely ambassadors from our Pasadena Education Network. Susan, did you wanna maybe jump on and tell everyone a little bit about what Penn is about, and then maybe some of our ambassadors can chime in?
Yeah, sure. So, good evening, everybody. I was about to say good morning. No.
I know.
My name is Susan Schwartz, and I'm the program director for Pasadena Education Network, Penn. We are a independent organization within the district that's a network of parents and caregivers who have kids in the schools all the way TK through 12. And so one of the things that we do, we have because we have parents, a network of parents, we try to make it easier for parents who are going into a school to connect with parents who are looking at schools to connect with parents who already have kids there now. So we do have middle school ambassadors, and a couple of them are on our the program tonight. But we also have on our webpage, we also have a listing with contact information for parents at all the middle schools, and I'll put that link in the chat in a minute. But this evening we have with us Victoria Knapp, who has a 6th grader at Elliott, and she also has a high school student at Blair. And we have a Gargi, who is a Blair parent, Blair middle school parent, I should say. So she's a little closer to that middle school experience, and also has a child in the dual language program there. I think it was mentioned earlier that the Spanish dual language program continues at Octavia Butler, but it's also available at Blair. So, and then I think we have Jenny Jakubiak, who has a student at OEB. I don't know if Jenny is still on the call. But what we wanted to do at this point was just give them a chance, the Penn ambassadors who are here, a chance to introduce themselves briefly, and then really just open it up to questions that you may have for current middle school parents. So I don't know, Victoria, you want to start off and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria Knapp. As Susan said, I have a 6th grader at Elliott Arts Magnet. He attended Altadena Arts Magnet prior. He is a GATE student. I know that came up previously. He's not in the French DLIP program, but Elliott does offer French DLIP. And then to piggyback on the conversation we were having earlier about electives, yes, it is true that if the student is in the DLIP program, then it reduces their ability to choose another elective. At Elliott, the 7th period of the day, which is the last period for everyone, is artist seminar. So everyone is enrolled in an art class at that, I think it's the last 35 minutes of the day. And then periods 8 and 9 on Tuesdays through Friday are conservatory classes, for which we have about 20 classes that students can pick from. And on Mondays, because it's a shortened day at Elliott, there is a 10th period conservatory class. So conservatory at Elliott is offered in partnership through LEARNS. LEARNS still offers its programming at Elliott for students that are not interested in conservatory classes. And it is free to families. So essentially in Grayson's case, he is enrolled in a conservatory class on Mondays, 1, and then he leaves. And then he's in 2 classes until 6 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And he elected no conservatory class on Friday, so he could just sort of have a regular school day. And the conservatory is very flexible that way. So you're not bound to remain in the class that you select if it turns out that that's not what your child is interested in. After all, it's flexible that they can move around. We just ask that once they settle on a schedule that they stay in that schedule, and then they don't need to come every day, and they can leave after 1 class from the conservatory every day as well. So it's a really flexible program, and one of the great things about it is it does support all of the arts on campus. So there's stage design, costume design, makeup, stage makeup, set design. Then there's all of the performing arts and the fine arts, in addition to all the music. So it's a really, really exciting program. And we have about 30 to 40% of our students this year enrolled in conservatory. And that is Elliot.
All right, thank you. Gargi, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Yes, I'm Gargi, and I have two daughters at Blair. I was about to say San Rafael because that's where they went to elementary school, but they're both at Blair right now in the 6th and 8th grade. So in the DLIP program. So I'm happy to answer any questions specifically about the DLIP program, but also about Blair in general, and also about the transition really from elementary school to middle school for parents. I know one thing I've definitely noticed at Blair is that the 6th grade year is really looked at as a transitional year, really helping the kids adjust to having multiple teachers and rotating between teachers for different classes and subjects, and the organizational piece of it, managing a slightly bigger campus. Homework is a little less assigned less in the middle school, in the 6th grade. You'll definitely see it increase over 7th and 8th grade, but they really look at 6th grade as a nice transitional year between elementary and middle school. We have a few things that maybe I can, oh, and then Blair, of course, has the IB program. So I know that a lot of DLIP kids will continue with us. A lot of IB kids from Willard will continue with us. And then Blair High School is the DLIP and IB program too. It's a lovely school. It's one of the smaller schools, I believe. We have monthly breakfast club with the administrators, so you can have access to the principal and the assistant principals. We have a very active parent Facebook group. Parents are always asking questions and stuff like that. So lots of ways to get connected with the community and learn more, but I'm happy to answer more questions too.
Okay, I don't know, Nancy or Jasmine, if you've been following the chat, are there any questions in the chat that for parents? Or if people just want to unmute and ask, that's fine too.
Unless there's anyone who wants to chime in, we've been keeping up with them pretty well. So no new questions so far, but please feel free if you have a new question to go ahead and ask it. Thank you.
Maybe I'll add one quick thing. Blair is attempting, because I saw this question come up earlier, to move to, we're in the last stage of moving to block scheduling, which should hopefully allow us to open up that opportunity for the DLIP kids that we haven't had before, which is for DLIP kids to sign up for electives because it'll be block scheduling. So that's an exciting change that's coming.
I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Jenny. I'm a parent at OEB. I'm officially ambassador at Jackson, but that will be changing probably, right, Susan? But yeah, so we heard, I think, a little bit more from OEB, so I won't talk that much. I'll just say my 7th grader, he's in Math Academy, so I can always talk about those at whatever school, Sierra Madre or OEB. He opted not to do an after school. He just wants to have more free time. He doesn't want to have an after school elective. I will put a plug in for that Pasadena Youth Symphony Orchestra, PYSO, that continues from some of the elementary programs. So that's like once a week in the evening. He appreciates that a little bit more. My daughter's 5th grade going in, so I can see her probably fitting in well with the whole Glee. And some of those electives, whether it's during the day at a school or after, that's kind of where the community forms. I feel like my son didn't get that community as much, to be honest, because Glee is like a major community. But now it's really fun at nutrition and, recess. They get creative and they're playing like ultimate Frisbee and so forth. So that's nice, but that's about it. But nice to see you guys.
Thanks. I don't know, Gargi, do you want to say a little bit more about what the block schedule will mean in terms of what a student's day would look like, if you can speak to that?
Yes, I'm not sure. And Victoria, if you know more, feel free to jump in. I think it basically allows, like some of the high schools have block where you have longer classes, but not the same classes every day. I think I heard that maybe math is something that would be every day, but science, social studies would be 3 days a week, and it would allow the Tuesday, Thursday, or the 2 days a week to open up for some electives. And that way they're still getting all the instructional minutes necessary, but with longer classes and less periods in a day. So instead of the 6-period day, I think it's a 4-period day, but it allows for just more stuff. And then also there is the option for PE in middle school. At this point, you can either take traditional PE or dance. And so sometimes that's also a bit of an elective in place of PE. Because I know electives is a hot question, especially for DLIP kids, because the DLIP kids have to take Spanish language arts, so.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for coming. It seems like we might have answered a lot of the questions since we don't have anyone else. Maybe we'll do one last round. Does anybody have any final thoughts or questions that they might have? And it doesn't have to be specific to the schools where we have our ambassadors from either.
I have one question.
Sure.
This is school specific, so if I just need to call the school, you just tell me that. But one question was, does Elliott specifically have Math Academy and super random? Do they wear a uniform in middle school at Elliott?
It's Victoria. I'll chime in. Elliott does not have Math Academy. It does have honors math in 6th grade, and there is no uniform for middle school. There is a dress code.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think, you know, a parent who was talking to me about, you know, trying to figure out if about Math Academy and also what other options. And I think that the idea that there can be some acceleration through the honors math, if you have a student who, you know, Math Academy is a very specific slice of the population who are ready to go on to calculus in middle school. But there are opportunities for your child to have a somewhat accelerated course in middle school in math, I think at all of the middle schools. And I would say that at the two 6 through 12 schools at Blair and Marshall, that is facilitated somewhat by the fact that there is a high school there as part of the campus. So you know, if you had a student who was a little bit more advanced, maybe not ready to do Math Academy, but ready to advance, there would be some opportunities there to accommodate that.
Victoria, I had a direct message regarding the conservatory, so I just wanted to speak a little bit more about that to clear up any questions that may be outstanding. Because the conservatory is offered after school, there's not an opportunity for parents to see what's going on in conservatory. I will say that we do tour most of the conservatory spaces during our tour, even if there's no one in them. And the spaces are still being built out. So even though all of the conservatory spaces have rooms, they're in various degrees of being upgraded, whether it's being painted with murals, whether it's having the instrument lockers installed, whether we're putting risers in, for instance, in the Black Box Theater. So I know that parents don't really get to see it in action, but the way it generally works is that during the first week of school, the students are given a menu of conservatory classes that are offered, and they're grouped by whether they're performing arts or music or fine arts, and they get to select which classes they want. It is a little bit daunting for parents who are used to managing their child's entire schedule to know that your kid is like signing up for these classes. But as I said earlier, they're not beholden to those classes, and they can switch, and switching does happen. And they're one semester at a time, so they can choose different electives their second semester. And the conservatory classes start immediately after school, and then there is a supper break which is between periods 8 and 9, where all the kids have something to eat together, or they can just wait in their next conservatory class if they want. So I hope that answers some of the questions. And as I said earlier, about 40% of our current students are enrolled in conservatory. And now that we're underway and we'll have a full year of conservatory scheduling, I would expect to see at least half of the student body in conservatory next year.
Thank you.
I'm going to do one more shout out about putting your people's email addresses in the chat, Nancy, before we go.
Right.
Yes.
If right.
Go ahead, Jasmine. Take us away.
No problem. But if you wouldn't mind, I know we said earlier we were going to send out the presentation to everyone, but just in case you signed in from your phone and you may have dialed in, if you can go ahead and provide your preferred email address so we can ensure that we get this presentation to you, as well as the follow-up FAQs, we would greatly appreciate it. Nancy, feel free to close us out.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We were really excited to put this together. I know that that transition phase can be a little bit scary for not just our students, but sometimes for us as parents as well, especially if it's our first child moving into middle school. But if you don't mind scanning the QR code and giving us a thumbs up or a thumbs down on our presentation, if there was anything in particular that you liked, or if you have any additional feedback, even if the feedback means maybe including additional information that maybe you were looking for. Our contact information is also on here. Once again, I'm Nancy Molina, and my email is right on there. And then Jasmine Harris, you may contact her as well. Again, if there were any questions that you have aside from what was asked today, or if you think of anything, tomorrow or in the next couple weeks, please feel free to reach out to us. You can always contact your schools directly. You can contact the Penn ambassadors as well. But we're also, there to be able to assist you and help you in any way possible. Thank you to everyone that was able to attend. Thank you to our Penn ambassadors. Thank you to Kat for coming. And then thank you to Ms. Milnes for the presentation. We hope that you found value in it, and we hope that everyone has a great night. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.